Reset your camera.
Reset. We're here. We're here. It's a new year. Is your new year going well already, Kristen?
It was actually going like pretty swimmingly end of the year, and I feel like it kind of disintegrated as the year started.
It collapsed. Yeah, my year. Should. I think so. I've had a pretty rough 7 days of 2025. What's up, Gwen? Thanks for dropping in. Can I switch our spots in StreamYard?
Right.
Yeah, because now it's easier to see you. I've had a rough 7 days. What's up, Dirt Hippie, Dungeon Master? Kristen, what happened to you in the past 7 days? Because I wanna complain to you, but I want to hear your complaints first.
I feel like I've got a handle on things, and what happened in my memory is that like I was like, "Hey, Cameron, here's our plans. What do you think?"
Yeah.
Then,
I mean, you sent me
okay. Shifted and morphed, and then we're back to like this like place of like ungroundedness and uncertainty, which I don't think is a bad thing. But I seriously had this impression end of last year that we got a handle, we got it made.
I mean, we do have a handle. I don't know if it's the right handle. Did I ever tell you about my perfect dumb superpower?
No. Which one's
okay?
This one?
If you could have any superpower that wasn't a useful one, like in terms of laser vision, fly, teleport, those are useful ones. Like, do you have any dumb superpowers? That
I have one. Yeah. Actually,
what is it?
My wife mentions it when we go out on a run. I have the perfect poodar. Okay, like I can see dog poop from like miles away.
Oh,
don't go there! Don't step there.
That's really funny. I think
says,
poodar
I'm
is
like
pretty
scanning
good.
Wi-Fi. I'm like scanning on the ground, scanning as I'm running.
So, I thought you were gonna say I want to always know where there's a bathroom while I'm on a run, because that's another version of.
Yeah, I also have that, but it's not as immediate.
Okay, that's a pretty good one. I've never heard that one, and I would also get use out of it immediately. My useless superpower that I want is the ability to create handles out of midair. And so you'd never have to do a crunch to get out of bed again. You just handle, pull yourself up. That would be my useless superpower. So that's
so miming is your superpower.
Yeah, miming would be like full miming would be very useful. I think one handle at a time would be the useless version of it.
All right, Buster Keaton.
Okay, so you think you had a handle on it. Gwen, welcome back. I didn't feel like we had as much of a handle on OK Banger as you did, I think. But then you sent me 100 pages out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere. We had talked about it. And I know it's not 100 pages, but the document is 100 pages. Can you actually explain what it is? Because I keep looking at it, and then I keep seeing 100 pages, and I honestly just haven't looked at it.
Well, this is where I did a typical don't send an executive a 100-page document, even though 99 of the pages are literally our notes from previous shows.
I mean, I'm not an executive, but I was shocked at the headline number, and I was like, oh, Kristen put so much work into this. I need to give it time, and then I just haven't.
One segment is a rant by me that had nothing to do with anything at all. So I knew you didn't read it. That was my brown M&M in the pile. So I actually inserted an entire essay.
A test to see if I was paying attention?
Exactly. And that's why I knew right away you never read it.
I'm predictable sometimes.
Yeah, and what happens is like, oh, Nanish, you would love this. I sent Cameron like plans A, B, and C of things that we can hone on for the next year. And then I thought, oh, haha, it's like a callback to his, story about being the admiral, colonel, the colonel's assistant.
Yeah,
and
I
how
did
you
clock that.
Present like the option that you really want, and like some like fake kind of close options that he could pick apart. So I totally did that. And he still to this day has not picked plans A, B, or C.
Yeah. No, I mean, because all right, so
Oh, I
My
guess
my
now this professor's on your side. This is why Adrian keeps it to one page, so I'll actually read it. LOL. I know I should have known better, but even though I had the 100-page document, it's actually a multi-section document where if you look on the first page, like that was it.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So I've just had a chaotic past few weeks. I was with family. I was with friends. So you know how your body kind of grinds through the things it needs to, and then when you get a chance to take a breath, you just collapse into a puddle.
Yeah, that's me today.
So January 1st was the start of my collapse into a puddle. And so the past 7 days, so basically in the past 7 days, I somehow tweaked my back. So I haven't been able to lift. I've just been doing rehab recovery stretches. So I have no emotional regulation right now because I'm not lifting. Because that's how I regulate. I left my core notebook of all of my creative work and planning, like on paper, on a plane, and it's gone. It's
Oh yeah, that
it's
that was a
gone.
true tragedy. When you told me that,
Devastated.
I was really sad for you.
So still grieving that. And then I went to build a new computer, and it was a comedy of errors from start to finish. And if like I'm also, I would love to talk about building a computer and the issues that I went with. I don't know if that's interesting for anyone here, or you actually. I don't know. Have you built a computer?
No, I feel like I could. I mean, you buy the pieces and you put it together and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
You totally
Yeah,
could.
and I did for a time when I was trying to get into Wall Games Valheim, you know, the Viking building game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was just before I figured out, well, I can kind of like plot along with GeForce Now on a Mac. Like, you can kind of make it
Yeah.
work. You just like see like it's just like it looks like Minecraft when you play it, but it
Yeah.
kind of works. So I know the concept of it because I was trying to get into it, and then that was right back when the graphics card was super expensive. So I was like, oh man, this is like way too much for like me to play one game.
Yeah. Well,
So I was imagining you buying a giant RTX whatever, and then buying a
okay.
tiny
Yeah.
case and being like, it won't fit.
No, that's actually that the graphics card was actually the first comedy of errors bit. All right, but so I'll do the quick version for the hardware nerds in the chat. So got to buy all the pieces. That's like the first step. So I put together a build. I sent it over to my CTO because he's like a hardware guy, and he checked it, and he's just like, yeah, change this out. This is good. Blah blah blah. I decided stupidly to go for broke on as of 2 weeks ago, the top of the line card 4090, like an idiot, because I forgot that CES was this week and they were announcing the 5000 series yesterday or today or something. And so that was my first mistake, is I just like ripped one of those. But it's like basically I went to go go to play my old computer because I built a computer like 8 years ago, and everything was one generation behind, so I couldn't play any of the games that I wanted to play. So I was like, oh, I have to get the new stuff. Yeah, Royal Aid, rip indeed. But it didn't even stop. Like, all right, so I got all the pieces. I paid a little extra shipping so that it would all be at my house by the time that I got back from my trips. And I was just watching the shipping notifications come in, and we live near family, so they brought it into my house because that stuff will get porch pirated for sure. And everything starts arriving like it's supposed to, but the graphics card, it had all the shipping notifications, then like one day it just stopped, and then it pushed the date back. And I was like, oh, that's really freaking annoying because I paid extra for it to show up and it's not showing up. But I'll come back to that in a second. But so I got everything on Friday when I got back last Friday, day 3 of 2025, not my year. I started putting it all together, and I studied physics. I can read hardware diagrams, but I had bought perhaps the most complicated cooler. It's an AIO cooler. I bought maybe the most complicated cooler that I've ever interacted with. And so,
is it the kind with the water tubes?
Yeah. And so, but it also had like 3 plugs coming out of each fan, and it was I bought it used, and so somebody had wired it up wrong already, and it's like so I had to like undo all this bad work. And on Friday, I kind of said, screw it. I found a graphics card that would work for both my new and my old computer, so I could justify it in my head. And I dropped some money so that I could have a graphics card that day so I could like play. And so I come back, I start setting everything up. Per usual, hardware kind of gets a little goofy. Cases are huge now, by the way. If y'all haven't built a PC in a long time, a mid-tower case today is not the same as a mid-tower case like 6-7 years ago. They're a lot bigger. But so, of course, it's 2 a.m. by the time I start figuring out these fan wires. I finally get it together, get everything to power on, and I'm like, okay, I didn't blow anything. I go to bed. I wake up the next day, and I realize through trial and error that the CPU that I had bought, which is the 9800 Ryzen Risen, I don't know if it's how to pronounce it, 9800. This version of it with the BIOS that I had can't install Windows natively. So that started off out of the box. I spent an hour and a half going through forums and Reddit and like classic debugging mode. And all I could find was one thread where somebody was just like, this won't power on. I flashed the BIOS. I've upgraded, blah, blah, blah. The only thing that they could do...
After all, spending all this money, the basic function of turning it on and having an OS was missing.
Yeah, well, I mean, so you got to install it yourself. It's just, the Windows installer installs, but then for some reason, it basically bricks it. And so here's how this is a relevant to the show. In order to get to the next step, I had to reset my whole motherboard and then kind of like start the install process over. So I don't since you have a built computer, you don't know how to do that. You get a screwdriver and you kind of bridge some pins on the motherboard and you can kind of start from scratch with it. So I reset. I was 12 hours into the build at this point. And then, Nounish Professor, what's the motivation to build a computer rather than buy one?
Yeah.
Well, you can't buy what I built. Like you can kind of buy good gaming computers now, but you can't make it the way that you want.
I think it's like Lego. It's like man Lego. Oh, why could we? I said could
women build computers.
Like the pleasure is in the build.
It is, but it's also in like if you buy stuff in a certain way, like you can upgrade your machine. Like, so I didn't need to start from scratch. I could have, actually the motherboard was old enough that I kind of
and then like
needed to.
Cameron was insulting me because I was like telling him that, with the Mac, you got to build it too. And he was like, what are you
drop down?
So there's 5 drop downs of increasing prices that you can select before you check out.
I'm not gatekeeping Colin, building.
Like, at least 3 women build computers. I actually at least 3. Again.
I can agree with that. At least 3. But anyway, for the people that love build horror stories, I had to move my SSD, which is like the M2 version, which is a chip. It's not the SATA drives, which is like the newer one. I had to move it from my new computer to my old computer to try and install Windows 11 using my old computer, but into the new disk so that I could port it back. My processor on my old computer is a generation too old to install Windows 11. And so I was basically in a spot where I almost couldn't use my new computer. Then I was like, well, what if I install Windows 10 and upgrade? So I did that, but I had to reformat the hard drive into a different partition style. It's an older partition style. I bring it back to the new computer. Long story short, I had to basically attempt and then reset my attempt like 4 or 5 times before I found the correct config that would work. Then I got it working.
Everyone was listening. This is supposed to be fun.
I mean, this part wasn't fun, but it is kind of like the beauty and horror, the duality of hardware. I got Windows installed to boot properly on my new machine. I start installing Steam, doing all the stuff that I'm going to do, getting my coding IDE together. I update Windows 11.
How Steam came before the coding IDE.
It was at the same time. I do the Windows upgrades, the .NET upgrades,
Mm-hmm.
it bricks it with the same error that I got the first time that I installed Windows 11. And so I almost jumped off a bridge. I was devastated.
I kind of wish I was there though.
No, I genuinely thought about streaming building this but then I was just like, no, it's gonna be rougher than I thought, and even though that would be better content, it would hurt my soul.
Aw.
Yeah, Royal 8 is exactly right. You do Steam first because when you're downloading games, it takes a while, or at least it did. Now
Okay.
my new computer downloads them
All
pretty
right.
freaking fast. But
So how'd you fix it again the last time? Because I know you got it to work. Because
I did.
you did something after that.
So I had the foresight to create a restore point on my machine before I did this next wave of upgrades because
Mhm.
I've been emotionally crushed by lack of restore points before, and so
Mhm.
I rolled it back to the restore point where it was working.
Mhm.
But I had to boot it from the USB to do that. And I had to relearn how to like partition USB drives. Like it's fun. It's just like not fun when you want to do the specific thing about playing a game,
Mhm.
and you have to do all this other stuff. I rolled it back, and then I realized that I had upgraded to the second most recent version of the BIOS, not the
Mhm.
most recent version of the BIOS.
Mhm.
That's why you never rely on Windows installers for BIOS updates because it's often behind. Once I updated to the most recent version of the BIOS for the motherboard, the .NET updates worked, and so far it just works. And I'll be streaming from that machine. Actually, technically, I streamed from that machine the other day, but nobody knows because I've been streaming the finals secretly. Kristen saw a stream. But I'll be streaming from that machine, not for this show this week, but maybe next week or the week after. But I'll be doing gaming streams from that machine this week at some point.
Yes.
So
Yes.
keep an eye
So
out.
that goes back to the plans A, B, and C that Cameron did not read.
Yeah, buddy.
Which
Yeah, what are they?
you want me to just tell you now? Like,
I know one's about
what?
YouTube. I know one's about streaming, and then I didn't read the third one.
Oh, the third one was about like things that sound good. So
Oh, that was the rabbit for me to chase
the
and then give up on.
the braggity rights one. So it came down to like stated versus revealed preferences, right? Because I think you and I keep talking about, yeah, we want to be great YouTubers, but yeah, we normally don't like edit
We don't
videos.
publish.
Yeah, exactly. We do. We're I think we're like natural live streamers, but that's a totally different craft from being a traditional YouTuber.
True.
And we keep doing things that like penalize our YouTube algorithm, like not posting enough like 10-minute videos in
True.
our channel to make it count. And we keep saying that, oh yeah, surely we will upload more edited videos.
Surely.
Like for like a few months already. So Maya was trying to push you towards plan B, which is like we just gotta like admit to ourselves that we are better live streamers and we gotta learn the Gen Z craft, hence the hat. And to lean into live streaming instead. So I was going to propose to you, I think we should have more like gaming streams and co-working streams and other things that are more like of a streamy format. So when you proposed that you're going to start gaming, I was like, okay, good. He naturally landed in plan B without me pushing it.
I think I can see that.
Mhm.
I worry about two things with it. In chat, like we haven't talked about this. Like this is us actually just talking about this. Streaming is like a gas. It expands to fill the volume of time that we can allocate to it. And it's like necessary that it needs to be like hours and hours. So I worry about having enough time in our lives to dedicate to streaming. That's like my big worry.
That's why I was trying to propose that it has to be stuff you are already going to do. That you are going to double dip. So if you want to play the freaking finals, you can stream the finals, which from my understanding is like space Fortnite.
Like, no, not even a little bit.
Fine, explain to everybody what it is. It has shooting noises. Pew, 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 pew,
it does have shooting noises. It has shooting mechanisms too. So it's like it's it's like an arcadey team-based objective game. So a game like Counter-Strike is typically team death, or Counter-Strike is like planting a bomb, but a lot of the times it turns into team deathmatch,
Yeah.
where like you take something, you bring it to a specific spot, and then you plant it, and then you like defend it for a period of time. And then if it blows, like you last the time, you win. If it blows up, or if the team kills you, you lose. And then you switch sides. The finals is a game where it's multi rounds, but it's basically an amount of teams exists. They're all competing to get a cash box, which you open, and then there's a time where you defend it, and then you put it into a different spot on the map, and then defend it for a period of time. And then if you own the cash box for that amount of time,
it's closer to like Dota.
Yeah, kind of. I wasn't a big Dota player, so I can't speak super thoughtfully on it. But the point is, it's like more arcadey than like than other shooters, and it's more objective based than like team deathmatch based.
What is arcadey?
So there's shooting games, like FPS games have like a spectrum of like really lifelike. Obviously video games are video games, but like there's some games where you get shot once and you die, and all of the weapons are as close to real life weapons as it can be. There's a lot more like intricate mechanics, like you got to loot bodies and get supplies, like games like Tarkov, and like games like Tarkov. And there's another game that's out now that's a Chinese game where it's like Raid, Delta Force maybe, where it's like you're pretending you're actually like a special forces, whatever. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have games like Team Fortress 2, which is like, an older game where everything's kind of cartoony, the physics are goofier, like, and so when I say arcadey, it's like not serious. There's a lot of flashing colors, fun noises. Like the whole point of the finals is that it's a shooting game show, is I think the lore. And so like you go in and you're trying to like put on a show for an audience.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then the other part of the finals that's like more arcadey is it feels a little more rock, paper, scissorsy versus like really hardcore skill based, where like you have different classes and stuff. I've been watching people play the finals for a year, and I didn't have a machine that could play it. And now I do. And I'm kind of in a phase of life where I want to do more of the things that bring me joy, and playing video games brings me a lot of joy. And so and the whole reason I'm starting to stream it is I kind of want to see if I can get good at video games again and just do it in a public way so I can like justify it. You know what I mean? Because like when I was a kid, it used to be pretty freaking good at Halo 2 Online Ranked, but I haven't seriously played FPS games since then. And I kind of think that there's a cluster of probably like mid-30s millennial men that also wonder if they'll ever be good at games again, or if they could be. So I think I could appeal to that, but I don't know.
Yeah. So I love this because I feel like you genuinely enjoy it, and it's like a skill progression arc, right?
Yeah.
I remember in your secret Twitch account, it's titled something like "You haven't played since 2008" or something ridiculous.
Yeah, that's like that's the last time that I remember practicing a game. You know what I mean? And so
that's your improvement arc. And
yeah,
and I love how in the chat Mariam is asking for a rematch on GeoCrush, the arcade game of choice on Farcaster right now. And thanks for joining us, Priyanka. Yeah, so it seems like everyone's in this skill improvement arc.
Yeah, I mean, like I very much want to improve other skills in my life too. I was so relieved when I got this machine going, so I'm like riding the high of it now working the way that I want. What are your skill arcs that you're thinking about for this year?
Yeah, so my skill arc is coding, which is very funny because I've bugged you about this on and off for several years. And like my coding level is now, it's like slowly encroaching, right? Because as all these like AI enabled tools have made available, I try them all. But I get stuck because a lot of these like Bolt or like Lovable and all these apps, they
Yeah.
kind of work, but if you actually try to
Yeah,
use
they
it,
don't.
like they take me on this hilarious comedy loop. So I'm
Yeah.
actually starting to post on Twitter and other places. It's like me arguing with this AI product manager who makes like really half-ass code. But I think
Yeah.
like where I really want to improve is to be able to like, make what I want to make online. So like little tools, that kind of thing. So I am on this arc of learning Cursor through a course with Nat Eliason, who has captured the attention of every creator who has decided now that they are gonna become a coder creator.
Yeah. Can I be super honest about this?
No, you cannot. No
I
bursting my bubble.
No, it's not that. I think that like as someone,
Bubble
so like
bursting.
I've spent the past like 3 years like basically hate teaching myself the full stack dev
Mhm.
toolkit,
Mhm.
and these AI tools are a godsend.
Mhm.
But I think that like the part of this that most coder creators aren't getting yet, because
Mhm.
this is like fully new, and like there's a beauty in the naivete of like being fresh into an area,
Mhm.
is that like the floor for these kind of tools, every time a release comes out, the
Mhm.
skill floor goes up.
Mhm.
And so like I very much want people to feel empowered to build stuff for themselves, but like the the people that were building these tools before that now have access to these faster versions of these tools,
Mhm.
like it's not enough to just be able to, like you said, like use a bolt and then debug it and then like tweak it a little bit. Like in 2-3 years, it's going to be like no normal human is going to want to use your tool that is like the quality of most of these like creator app tools, just because it's going to get so much better for the people that are like the like have the skill set outside of it. I
Mhm.
think you have the dedication that you're going to make good things and you're just going to
Mhm.
bang your head against the wall till it works. I think, as we've seen with a lot of creator apps, like people are going to put stuff out and it's just not going to feel that great. And they're going to have like really bad churn, like very quickly with
And
these
that's why
apps.
I don't think the whole SaaS model works anymore. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying I'm gonna build something, I'm gonna find 1,000 users. Like, I'm not playing that game. I don't. It's gonna turn into everyone is gonna make their own weird little custom thing. Because like
Yeah.
like there and pretty soon, like ideally there should be no human user interface. It would just be AI talking to AI, and we're just like removing the entire picture anyway. So
I
I feel like
I also
I
don't
do
think that
like
makes sense to
do it
me.
in the very full cognizant mode of like this is a very narrow situation. Like the
Yeah.
gap's gonna close really quick. But I'm doing it because like I've missed so many times where I feel like, oh, I thought it was a narrow gap like 5 times already, right?
Yeah.
Since I was a kid. I was like, coding websites since I was like in 6th grade. Like it's
Yeah.
not new to me. It's just I never got good enough to be slightly ahead. So I
Have
feel like
you
I'm not deferring that anymore.
have you from start to finished deployed a React app?
Yes, I had in the past.
Okay.
But
I
I keep forgetting how to do it, and
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not something that's easy to remember for me.
Yeah, like I think maybe the most useful thing for somebody that wants to play with these tools, and like no shade to Nat, I want him to make money
But
from
that
this
is what he's
course.
teaching.
Oh,
It's
yeah, I didn't
He's
I
not
didn't realize that.
teaching the tools. He's teaching like proper coding.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Yeah. Like he has the whole course, the point is to not use Lovable and Bolt and all these tools because he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you get stuck. So you need to know how to properly, use React and properly use like build like have a super base of something really simple. That
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Broadly, as long as people consider this like infotainment or edutainment versus
Mhm.
like actual, like not actual training, because I don't want to gatekeep that. Like I worry when the same worry that I have about people going to like a 4-week coding boot camp and then
Mhm.
like, learning a specific data analysis Python tool set and then like being like, hey, job, and then it doesn't appear. Like
Mhm.
that's what I worry is going to be happening over the next few years with AI assisted coding.
Well, but
Royal,
here's the thing though. People do like statistically it's like a lottery, but some people do succeed with these like super shitty apps, right? Like for example,
yeah,
Keckers was mentioning someone built this like job application app. They didn't even buy like a domain name. They left
yeah,
it as at like Webflow and kids are paying for it and using it.
Yeah.
So it's like
And
you
you know,
could, but it's like kind of be shitty.
oh, here we go. This is another thing that I'm gonna reset. I had to
Oh,
reset my
thank you, Royal.
camera because I have an old camera and I need to buy a new one. But
Mhm.
I don't know, man. Like
I think, and like, you know, my joke is that like the next course is gonna be like learn how to scrape, because the moment you start to build, like as I did with my friends, it's like you know that it's not the app itself, it's where your data comes from, and that's where
yeah.
the resource the limitation comes in, right? Then you start to have to pay for scrape data, or you scrape it yourself. Or else there's nothing useful to generate, or you're going to be making Pomodoro timers at the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
there's no useful stuff. And that's where people would get stuck next.
Yeah. I have so many feelings about all of that. But you know, what maybe we lean into resetting.
Mhm.
What else do we need to reset?
I don't know. What do you think?
I'm doing a lot of, I'm doing a physical reset. Like, dude, I was so ready to enter January, like with my best lifting self, and then this back injury came out of nowhere. And as soon as this call is done, I'm going to go through another stretching routine. So I'm resetting physically. I'm like, expectations is my answer. Like, I'm trying to reset all of my expectations for this year. Because if I don't, I think I'm really setting myself up for the expectation, like suffering is expectation, kind of state of mind.
So
Does that
you're
make sense?
lowering your expectations?
I'm adjusting, like it's not lowering, it's more like changing the vector of them, right? Like, because some are getting shorter, some are getting longer, some of the time horizons are changing. Because like, okay, so I've been doing the inventory of the stuff. I have OK Banger, I have Seymour, which we're doing a huge reset on in the next like week or two. Physical stuff, these additional creator projects. I have also sub facets of actually, let me do a quick pitch for this. I don't know whether to do this on the same channel as I'm doing the final stuff. I don't think it ends up on the same channel, but I kind of want it to. But that's hubris. I think it might be hubris. I kind of want to do a series or like a channel called Cam Can't Stretch. And it's just me following stretching routines and complaining the entire time.
Oh, I love it. It's so stupid.
Like, because I in order to rehab my back, there was no stretching routine that was exactly what I needed. So I put together 3 different things. I got one from Flexibility Guy, one from Yoga with Adrian, and then one from Dr. Mike. And I do them in kind of a sequence. And
What?
as
No supple leopard? No.
I don't know. I don't know the space. I just know what I've been served. And so in my algorithm. And so I'm just like doing the best I can. And so as I'm doing them, I'm just like, oh, screw you, Adrian. Just like, I'm doing that to myself. And I'm like, this actually is kind of funny if I ham it up a little bit. So I think that could be funny, but I don't want to do too much. Cause like, obviously the January death sentence is trying to change everything in the month in January. Right?
Yeah, but that's what we do in the new year, right? And Happy New Year,
well,
Melanie.
okay. No, that's what I used to do in the new year. What I do now is I sequence. If I can do 6 weeks of Cameron Builds Finals channel, while doing the OK Banger stuff, and then I can, like.
Well, I think you're pointing to actually a more practical creator problem, right? Because we can come up with a bajillion projects, but like if you put them all in one channel, then it's a little confusing for people sometimes.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it all in one channel, then no one can find it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a practical issue here.
Yeah, like I've been looking at some channels that I've been following for a long time, and honestly, Satan himself, Mr. Beast, also does this, and they just have channels that are connected to each other. And so that's not what I want.
That's not a good comparison, though.
No, I know, but it's also like, okay, actually, Kristen, do you think we're unique, or do you think we're just like everybody else on YouTube?
I don't think that's the right question to ask.
Okay.
Like, the reason why I say Mr. Beast is never a good comparison is because he's bajillion like subscribers. Like the person we need to mimic is the person with 1,000 subscribers or 10,000.
I think that's true, but I also think he's stayed close enough to the YouTube meta that like some of the big bucket thing, like micro tactics,
But
doesn't
and
matter
also
for us.
like aren't his like side channels famous for not doing that well? Like the reacts and the other sub channels, like you really gotta dig to find them.
I mean, I think I haven't looked at it in a while, but I'm in the early stages of like researching that.
Mhm.
But the big question is like all in one channel or separate channels, and that's really what I'm trying to answer with it. What do you think?
Mm, I feel very torn. It's even like my idea of like let me stream me being frustrated at coding. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
sure whether to do it on this channel or to do it on my personal channel.
Yeah. I don't know. Chat, what are y'all's thoughts? Because we're figuring it out.
Mhm.
Like
I would say like the same one just because then like, you know, let's just say someone wants to see us in the live tab, then they would needed to have subscribed to multiple channels and we already have a small number as it is. So it doesn't make sense to split the small number into even further small numbers.
so that
However, algorithms favor you doing the same thing over and over and over and over again.
yeah, that's like my tension. Like I think wanting to accumulate subscribers to one channel
Mhm.
might be creator ego.
Mhm.
That's like my big question to myself, because like what
Gotta bring this
I
up. Nicheification is a great word.
yeah, like the and that's why I think, because we have less than a second to communicate to somebody what's happening.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I love our title. I don't want to change it, but okay, banger doesn't communicate anything to somebody.
Mhm.
And so Cam Can't Stretch as a channel immediately like evokes the sense of kind of what it's about. And
Yeah, I do
then
love that. It says it's on a tin. That's
and,
what it says.
and so like
Oh,
as
Happy
much
New
as
Year,
I would
Law.
Happy New Year. Like as much as I
Oh, man.
want everything to go into Cameron builds, because like the whole point of that channel for me was to like do the things that I want to do,
Mhm.
and do it in a public way that like has a baked in narrative. It kind of feels like, oh, that's what I want. That's not what the internet wants, or that's not what people want on the internet.
Mhm.
So I don't
I
know.
love
Like,
it. Okay, go make it.
I did
Wait,
this morning.
is it like gonna be recorded videos?
I
I think it
think
should be a
so.
TikTok, to be honest. This is like
Yeah, I think so
I don't
too.
think I can watch like more than 2 minutes of
Like I think it's
whining in one dose.
primarily a shorts channel
Yeah.
where it's just like I do all of the routines in like one take, and then I just, cut them up into the funny bits.
Uh-huh.
Um yeah, so that's it, like it's like a reacts channel with extra flavor, which I know people have feelings about, but like I'm going to stretch anyway. Like cuz that is one of my Actually, do you want to go over like our 2025 big brain plan? Have you
Sure.
done that yet? Have you done your planning for this year? I don't have a pen. Oh no.
Where's your pen?
I'm
Is it
gonna
held up
find it.
by the little crab guy?
No, that's at my house,
Oh,
but
right.
and that holds up my mighty bar right now.
Oh, okay.
All right, hold on. I gotta get a pen. Give me 1 second.
While he's gone. I like how Royal says it feels like a comedy podcast by the guys who wrote White Men Can't Jump, Recam Can't Stretch.
That's pretty funny. Yo, I
Why
miss
do you
Woody
need a
Harrelson and
pen?
funny stuff. You always need a pen. Pen and a pad of paper, always important.
Oh, speaking of which, okay, so now that some time has passed, so when you told me that you lost your notebook, my immediate gut reaction was, Cameron, if you like really, it was really important. You should have like taken a photo of every single page as you were filling it out as a backup. But I didn't want to rub the salt in the wound,
I
so I hope you're
didn't.
doing that from now on.
Yeah, no, that was my backup plan. It was actually spawned an idea for a little creator supplement app of like I think we're gonna see a renaissance of single use apps
Isn't that
Like
literally the opposite of what you just said like a few minutes ago?
no, okay. So the difference is it's not low effort ones. It's like
Mm.
does a single workflow extremely well.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. I was actually thinking about that because like did you okay, you know Typeform?
Yeah.
Do you know what their valuation is?
Kristen, I've done all of the research into things that are like things that I could steal.
Okay, okay, okay. But I was like so shocked. I was like, really? Like that's crazy. It's $935 million
Yeah.
for Typeform, which is
But like
a survey tool.
the nuance in there is that that's what they've raised their last round at. That's different.
Yes, yes, it's
'Cause they're not
evaluation and blah blah blah. But still, like because I think it's because SurveyMonkey kind of set a precedent of like once you capture this market, they are really sticky. So I can see why it's like, oh, it's seen as a very profitable thing. But they
Yeah.
also like perfected like the flow of filling up a form and making it really nice. So I can see how it's like, okay, if you have your little writing app that like seamlessly sends it into the digital realm, it'll be really nice. And people will pay
Yeah.
for that.
Like my vision for this flow, and this could be one of the okay banger little projects.
Mhm.
Because like maybe we talk about the one that we've been talking about recently too. But so the flow that think is like you write on paper because I like
Mhm.
writing on paper. So law, that's why it wasn't digital in the first place. Is tactile writing for me. I just produce a different thing.
Mhm.
And I don't know how you write, Kristen, but when I write poems, I feel the emotion and then like it gets out on paper and then I rarely can ever recreate it again. It's like a flash of a moment in time, which is why I was so devastated because I can't recreate anything from that because I got it out and it was gone.
I use ChatGPT to find famous authors who lost their manuscripts on trains and other vehicles to try to make Cameron feel better.
Yeah.
I was like, Ernest Hemingway once lost a manuscript.
Yeah, I am trying to channel that into crushing this year in terms of writing stuff. Vicky, the alt is horrible though. What else besides Google Forms? Yeah. Like there are actually, I'm not going to say there are good Typeform alternatives because they're all open source projects that immediately lost the plot.
Well,
So
there's Tally, but it's not the same vibe. Tally is more of a Notion vibe.
and it's also Typeform isn't like it has the consumer play, but it's really a B2B play. Like
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that's a very
Because the
like
B2C plan is so freaking expensive, none of us can afford it.
yeah. But so I'm gonna use this pain as fuel, hopefully.
Mhm.
Um, but one version of OK Banger, which wasn't in any of the plans, but we've kind of been talking about it for a while, is we keep yapping about this and we just like work on these mini apps or like mini projects as we feel inspired.
Mhm.
And I think like the asterisk there is they have to be made with enough love and attention to detail that they're worth us spending time on.
Really?
You know,
Oh, I was hoping we could just do like scrappy 5,000 projects.
so
Clearly.
so so Nikita Beer is an asshole, but I
I like how
really
every phrase we have on the kid appear has to be prefaced with we don't actually like him as a person. We don't even know him as a person. He could be perfectly nice and he plays an asshole on the internet. We don't know.
that's true. I
That
somehow
that
don't
that
believe
trolling
it,
energy hits, you know?
but
Which we don't know how to embody apparently.
the I mean we do, but only for very brief periods of time because immediately we
Well, we
want to
feel so
backtrack.
guilty every time we snark.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it as I was watching like oh now like Talib and Brian Johnson are like mutual trolling, and I was like, oh
Yeah, I
man, they're
saw
getting
that.
so much engagement. I'm like, I'm not Levantine enough.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta get a book out.
Mhm.
I mean, Kristen, I bet you could be actually what area do you identify with culturally the most? Because you've lived a bunch of different places.
America.
Oh, okay. So like growing up in Malaysia didn't impact you like at all.
I mean, to be honest, I clearly am not there for a reason.
Yeah, but like that doesn't. I just wonder if we could have like a pocket of people that find you very interesting.
Well, like the culture I identify with the most that I'm like half ashamed to admit is the international spratty school like third culture kid group,
That's a real group.
which is
There's
like
no
the
shame in identifying with that.
July type people. Like, like, there's a certain vibe of these like people who never grew up. It's kind of like very close to like military base kids.
Got it. Got it.
Where like kind of
So
like
kind
that.
of adrift in space and time.
Correct. And then we're there and we're not really there. Okay, sounds
Got it.
creepy like Christian Bale.
That's funny. Okay,
Um,
maybe more on that. Maybe we'll talk more on that in a little bit. But anyway, so Nikita Pier's an asshole, but
yeah.
one of the things he's really adamant about is that you have to have flows that are like extremely polished because that is the baseline expectation of anybody normal using a new tool. And the way that you do that is by kind of discovering these flows from the ground up and then iterating on them until they freaking work. And they have the little animations, they have the haptic feedback, they have the things that make people feel like this is a premium or luxury app experience.
Right.
Because that's like the baseline.
I'm so glad my friend Vicky is here, who's a professional designer at a very, very big startup.
Amazing.
Yes, it was like, what happened to designers with all these apps? I'm like, yes, this is why we still need designers because we don't know how to do this part.
Like
the magical flow part.
We're not past the scrappy stage of the internet, but we're pretty much like past the scrappy stage of anything at scale. If you look at the things that are like overnight hitting on TikTok or whatever, they all feel really nice. And there's a lot of comments that you could have on kind of the evolution of younger folks and like they can't use file directories, blah blah blah. But none of that matters because I just want to make stuff that people like and use and is useful.
Delightful.
Yeah, delightful. And so I've been really thinking about that a lot in regards to Seymour, but also in this riff that we've had recently about the PDF project. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Oh, you should show it.
I mean, the Vicky, I think most of our unmet needs are met. Like the internet does a lot. There's not a lot that doesn't exist in an app form. I know that there's always more and more niches, blah blah blah, but I think that like the era of making a beer, like the beer app or the lighter app version of a thing, I don't know. I've been putting, maybe I'm just really bad at identifying needs, but there's a lot of really smart people on Farcaster and most of them don't have product market fit. And they pay attention to people and they ship a lot. And a lot of the internet is like that.
Well, I want to debate you on that one because I think,
yeah, please.
I don't think it's that there are no unmet needs. It's that we don't like to admit what the need is.
Okay,
like,
that's fair.
And then with certain populations, the need is speculation as a need. So and we don't like to meet that need. So therefore, we don't see it as a legitimate need when it could be.
I mean, that's true. There are areas that I personally choose to not build in because it doesn't like bring me joy. But maybe approaching it from a different way. Most of the functional problems of the internet, we've already have solutions for. Like we know how landing pages should work. We know how onboarding flows generally should work.
So the unmet need is unexpected delight.
Maybe like in the same way that I think about creator competition, like the YouTube video today that hits is 100 times more dopamine dense than the YouTube video that hit 10 years ago versus 10 years before that. Like social platform competition has raised the baseline bar for even being considered in the like content consideration set for a normal user that doesn't think about any of this. They just open their phone and they want a cat video or whatever. They don't even think that. They just open it and then something that gives them serotonin or dopamine appears. In the same way that like the baseline YouTube video that hits today is way better than 10 years ago, I think the baseline app or user flow or whatever that hits today is also, 10 or 100 times better than 10 years ago. And I think that's going to continue. And the reason why I push this is because like I've built stuff that like I think can be very fairly called scrappy. And the amount of people that are even early adopters that attempt to get through it and are like they say, oh, I like this, this, and this, but then they don't actually interact with it. Maybe I didn't solve a need, but I really think it doesn't feel like it's solved as well as it could be, even if technically it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we expect a level of polish.
Yeah.
So I think it's like we're like 6.5 dozen. Like polish is a very unmet need. So therefore,
Royal Aid, I definitely disagree. Like landing pages are so optimized. We're not going to get better than big banner call to action above the fold. Like that is as simple as it can get outside of AI giving you the answer flow without you even having to search. But the actual like layout of those
talk
pages.
About how in Web3 we have regressed and somehow don't even meet the standards of Web2. But that's a separate conversation.
But anyway, so we've been talking about this thing that just riffing the name on called the PDF project. Like we've both been around the internet for 20 years. PDFs somehow seem to be like the best source of information on interesting niche and esoteric topics on the internet consistently. Like, actually, do you agree with that statement?
Yes. And I feel like the angle here is that we're not talking about like generic PDFs that you can get from like ScribeD or whatever, but like closer to like Atlas Obscura of PDFs.
Yeah, like gems.
Like, and pretty esoteric stuff.
Yeah, like honestly, I'd say like the Bitcoin white paper is an example of one of those PDFs.
Oh, yeah.
Like anytime I find something that I'm like, oh wow, this is neat. It seems to be in a PDF. But there's not a great spot where I can consistently go week after week and find another one of these gems. Obviously, the secret sauce to this is curation, but it's also like it just needs to exist in order for the creation to happen. And so one of the tiny projects that we were talking about is maybe the PDF project, where we just spend a good amount of time going through Reddit threads, going through Twitter threads, going through Quora, and finding these like gems of PDFs and just putting them in one spot. And then, maybe have some sort of interesting discovery mechanism, soft plug for new version of Seymour, which is automated newsletters. I think I can use that to get that in your inbox too.
Yes, so, please.
Chat, any reactions to that would be appreciated because we're actively considering how to supplement our streams with useful stuff.
I feel like we and I actually did like we made a version of this, but only for ourselves.
Yeah, we did.
Test Discord that was only for us, which I think I should just really open up to everybody. Where we made a channel called Esoterica, and you were posting like really obscure stuff on the internet that I thought was really interesting. So I think that's a good test. It's stuff that we like, which is like old school blogs that link to interesting things, but even more curated.
I don't know. I don't want to scope creep before we even start this thing, but I miss StumbleUpon a lot. Did you ever have StumbleUpon?
Yeah, for a brief second. This was the early days when they were competing with Reddit. They lost, right? What happened to them?
Kind of. Well, first of all, Vicky, I don't know what Sublime or MyMind is.
I've never heard of those.
Probably not going to use that. But the bigger thing is so Kristen, to answer your question, StumbleUpon was like, it was for serendipity, and serendipity isn't a product need. It's like a special interest cultivation for a small internet that like
didn't a vibe.
Like Stumble Upon was algorithms but worse, right? Like algorithmic feeds but worse. Because
Mm.
like my TikTok feed is pretty great.
Mhm.
For all the macro criticisms I have of big tech, like I love my TikTok feed because I've honed that baby to give me the weirdest of the weird, and I love
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
And so Stumble Upon was basically that. But like curated by humans, which is always going to be harder to do than a machine.
Mhm.
And maybe that's the fate of the PDF project. But I don't know. Maybe that part of the internet is small
Well,
enough that it is manageable.
I feel like in the small bets type philosophy, like it's hubris to think that we can guess what people would like.
Yeah.
So we should just make it and then
Can I
decide.
can I can I add to that statement?
Mhm.
Um, it's hubris to think that we can guess what other people like. So you should just do what you like.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Oh, I think I don't know. Maybe this is like one of those binary camps thing. I've seen really good builders who can make things that
Yep.
I don't think they themselves even like. I think they're building it because there's market demand for it and they can do it. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter to them whether they themselves like it or not. And I have a really hard time doing that. Like I cannot make something I myself can't like, which is its own hubris.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know whether that's a changeable trait. Is it because I need to overcome this hubris to give myself more options, or should I just not entertain that?
I mean, that's the dev version of a lizard suit, right? The
Is it? I don't
I think
know.
so. I think it is.
Oh,
Like
oh, okay.
like all right, so there's an argument which I think so I haven't gone through Y Combinator. I have plenty of friends who have.
Mhm,
I've studied the lore like a psycho, right?
mhm,
And as a result of having built startup stuff for the past 4 years
mhm.
and following that religion and then unfollow it, like I'm finding the army kind of has like a not official saying that army doctrine is a point from which to deviate, right? Like this is like the if you don't know what
Oh,
to do, do it this way,
uh-huh.
and then everything else is kind of a react to contact to what's happening on the ground, right?
Mm,
There's a very famous example of this with World War II. We landed on Normandy. We brought
mhm,
tanks.
mhm.
Tanks were really bad in France because France has what was called like the bocage, which is a bunch of like these hedgerows that would completely screw up the tank treads when you tried to roll over them.
Mm.
And so it turned out that the tanks, which are built to be like everywhere, needed to be restricted to roads until soldiers figured out they could put cow catchers on trains.
No. What's that?
So if you look at like old timey trains, they had this like metal scoop on the front of them.
Oh, is that what they're
So
called?
yeah,
Oh.
cow catchers, because trains would hit animals like buffalo on the track and would like totally screw up
Oh.
the train. And so they made this, still
Mhm.
killed the cow, but it saved the train.
Oh.
So cow
I thought that
catchers,
was just called a stepper pusher.
but so soldiers realized they could put these like the equivalent of like
Mhm.
hedgerow catchers on the tanks, and that would let them
Mm,
drive over these hedgerows. And then that was how the U.S. really got a lot of mobility in the Bocage fight.
mm.
Um, I forgot where I was going with this, but
So you're saying
doctrine.
that yeah, doctrine.
I
Mhm.
think Y Combinator doctrine makes sense in a vacuum as I do more and more, especially in the consumer space, which is why Y Combinator pushes people towards B2B because there's a lot. Companies make employees use shitty tools if it does the job.
Mhm.
Consumers don't use shitty tools on their own
Mhm.
most of the time, unless it, like as Vicky points out, solves like a real unmet need. Which again, I just like making money is the only unmet need for most consumers right now, especially in this economy. Uh, I think it just needs to be a thing that you love, so you put enough work into it that it feels like it's something somebody else can love because you pay enough attention to the details that it's like worth it and novel and interesting enough.
I feel like making money is the unmet need, and also distracting from ourselves from the sadness of making not enough money is the huge unmet need.
Yeah. And so you can
Which is most
either
apps.
you can transcend and become a Buddhist chaplain, or you can screw around on the fun shiny apps.
Exactly.
But this is a roundabout way of me agreeing with you, Kristen.
I know.
Like-
I know. Apparently,
like-
Taco Bell was founded by a guy who hated Mexican food. I did not know that.
I mean, it's not Mexican food; it's Taco Bell. So I think that tracks.
Mhm.
But so Kristen,
There's a great song, "White People Taco Night." Everyone should YouTube that.
okay, I'll check it out after this. Like, I don't think it's a bug that you don't like working on stuff that you don't like working on. I think we grapple with the reality of, oh, if I need to make money more than I need to have self-actualization, like, yeah, you should totally work on stuff, marina management software for like boat marinas or whatever.
That
But
is
if
one of my ideas before.
Yeah.
Actually,
And
because I
there-
think it's super interesting.
I mean, there's a holding company called Constellation Software where their whole thesis is buying up these like boring marina, golf course, hotel, whatever management software.
Mhm.
I don't want to be 60 years old and have spent my entire life managing a bunch of stuff that I find boring. I have a little bit of a luxury to be able to spend my time on stuff that I care about. And I think that leaning into that isn't a bad thing if it's truly giving you joy.
Mhm.
I think we got to realize that reality gets a vote. But if you have the freedom to do stuff that you enjoy more than the things that you don't enjoy, like, I think it's worth spending a little more time banging your head against the wall to find the stuff you enjoy.
Okay. Well, I didn't realize that today we'll talk about literal reset for so long over your computer that you had to reset 5
It was
million
just 10
times.
minutes. I was pretty fast with it. I timed it because I didn't want to get lost in it. And people found it interesting. That generated some chat comments.
Yes. Well, I think we're about on the hour, and I'm very pleasantly surprised to see that people are joining us a lot from Twitter today.
Yeah,
So
thanks for
y'all
dropping in.
joining. If you're watching this from Twitter, if you drop stuff in the chat, we do see it. We just can't
We do.
reply you via the chat, but we can verbally reply you.
Yeah, Honey P. So what's the takeaway? We resetting expectations this year? We resetting our motherboards? What are we doing?
I'm still confused. So are we going with plan B, the one I proposed that I like the best, which is to double down on streaming? Because you say you don't like it, but yet you're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, no, I do like it. I do like it a lot. I just don't know if I'm going to like it 12 hours a day. Let me take a walk and send you a message. Tune in Thursday to see what we figure out, y'all.
I'm sure we'll figure out everything by Thursday.
That's the magic of January. You will solve all your problems, or at least feel like you solved them.
Mm-hmm. Well, my friend Sandra said that her New Year starts on spring equinox, which is in March. So we still have plenty of time, everybody.
I'm ready to kick that can down the road.
Yeah, just kick it down.
I mean, 2025 is clearly not my year based on the past 7 days. So check back in 2026. That's the year. I will figure everything out.
Mm-hmm. All right. We hope that you all figure everything out. And I would not be playing the outro song because Cameron has decided that he hates it.
Thumbs down. Don't like it.
And this
but I love